the violet, the peonies, the death of an old woman, and the cat. The peonies and the violets had a serious talk about the state of things. The conversation occurred from the sill of the kitchen window and the swath of good dirt that lined the sidewalk below. The old woman had not been back. They knew, in fact, she never would be back, and they were talking now of what was to be done. "We are fine and well here in the garden," said the peonies. "We will have enough to drink as long as the rain falls, and then there is even the water that runs deep within the earth. But what of you, little violets?" "Yes, this is a problem," the violets answered. "We have already begun to wilt at the edges and have sacrificed one leaf and flower each to keep ourselves going." "Perhaps you could come down and live with us." "It's fine here in the summer months. The rest of the year we know nothing about, for we are asleep." The violets had indeed considered this, but there were a few snags and questions that remained. For example, though they could smell and taste and touch the delicious fingers of the wind through the open window, there was a thin screen between, and it was sturdy, though old. Also, what would happen in those winter months? There would be no one to carry them down into the basement to bask in the artificial warmth of the lamp, and no one to repot them in the spring, and already their roots were cramped. But there would be soil and earth, and the violets had heard of worms. "Worms are the best," declared the peonies when asked about it after some silence. "They crawl and squirm in such a pleasing way between your roots. We just love worms." Bugs were divided into categories of good and bad. And there were bad times. There were hard ones, but the peonies said, "We have grown here 150 years, and there are things which one can endure that one wouldn't expect to survive." The violet plant was not so old as that. It could remember just faintly its beginnings in a room with heavy, humid air, the darkness of the life it had had as a seed, and its colorful place among the others of the greenhouse. It remembered the day the old woman had taken it home. Home. It would still be home, but a garden bed is different than a cozy windowsill. "I might die," whispered the violet softly. "Yes," said the peonies, "you might. But death is not the same for us as for the old woman. We put down roots and cast out seeds, and we remain. We are still the self-same plant we were a century ago." There is risk, but there is renewal. So the violet made up its mind, shaking its purple petals to make itself more certain. "Call the cat," it said. And the peonies did. They waited only a short while up on the fence separating the two backyards before there leapt a great orange creature. He was a fine cat and had liked the old woman well, though she had always tried to coax him to come in. "I'm an alley cat, an outside cat," he had explained to the peonies one night as he hid in the shadow of their full blossoms in wait for a mouse. "I belong to many people and I belong to no one. If I came and lived here, what would the people at all the other houses and all the other alleys think? A cat must be free to make his own fate." He leapt down from the fence and with a quick glance to the open yard crossed it and sat. "Well?" The peonies spoke. "We need your help, if you'd be so good as to give it. My friend Violet is trapped beneath the netting of the window, and she would like to come out." The cat twitched his whiskers, looked up. "Of course," he said. He had enjoyed the shade and the cool of the peonies many times in the heat of summer, and he had caught delicious, crunchy crickets there, too. He leapt up to the windowsill nimbly. The violet felt quite shy in his presence. It was much different than talking with the peony, who was out of doors, but still firmly planted in the ground. And here was a cat, a rambler, a creature of his own making. He wandered at will, and she felt sure he would never have hesitated, considered waiting in the house for some grown grandchild to come and rescue him. He lifted a claw, long and curved and sharp, and cut in one motion through the flimsy screen that had been so impassable for her. It hung in shreds and fluttered lightly. The night, cool now, was upon them. The violet looked out at the world which she was about to enter, all of it new and close. But there was no point in staying where she was, and so she threw herself out the opening and tumbled into the dark below. The peonies caught her. She lay on her side for a moment, the pulse of water within her quick and startling. But the sky was above her now, and it was beautiful. She stared, and her fall and her fear were forgotten. The lights, they were so different than anything she had seen before, and their little beams reached down from so high up. She lay still for some time, until the peonies bent their sticky heads down. "Are you all right?" She nodded her little velvet bonnet flowers at them. "Now, Sir Cat, if you will help us with one more thing." He rose from his spot in the cool grass, and next to where she had fallen, he began to dig. His paws pulled the heavy, damp earth up in clumps and rained it down in a patter on the peonies and the sidewalk and the grass. When the hole was big enough, the violet rolled herself, and the cat gave a push with his nose, and there she sat, neatly in the real, living Mother Earth. He sent another spray of dirt and covered her exposed roots that had grown out all the way to the edges of the little plastic pot. It felt cool and good, and she laughed to herself to think of the space she had now. It was all quite marvelous and unexpected. "Anything else?" asked the Orange Tom. "No, thank you, dear. Will we see you again?" The cat nodded silently, twitched the tip of its tail, streaked up the fence, and was gone. It is June, and the warm season stretches long before them. The old woman is gone. The cat will come back. And soon, the violets will know how it feels to have a worm, wet and curious, stretching between her roots.